Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome once more, everybody, to my channel. If you have subscribed, most welcome. If this is the first time you're viewing, you are still most welcome. We're going to carry on our journey around the town. If you remember, I was there where Beefeater is. Okay, I've come back onto Crossley Street, and I'm going to go further into the town to show you sort of the nooks and crannies, as I call them, because there's again, you know, the buildings behind. Many of these buildings are of great character and of course historical value. So the building on here used to be a Wesleyan mission when it started. So we are on Crossley Street, which of course was late Victorian times. If I remind you of what's down there, if you remember, that's the bus station. So we're going to go sort of up Crossley Street and then along Commercial Street and then into some of the other streets that I've not been to. So I think the buildings on this side of more character, so I am going to walk over onto this side, so one can only wonder and admire the Victorian architecture that we have in Halifax. So the YMCA used to be here, no longer exists, I'm afraid. And next to it we've got two cafes which are quite famous because they were used in scenes for various dramas. I think Last Tango in Halifax used them. So I'm afraid it's sunshine today, so it may get in the way, so I'll try and stay in the shade. So as you can remember, the iconic Yorkshire Bank building there. So I'm going to cross the road and go on to a different street to what we went to last time. So as you can see, the streets are very, very empty. First day of the third lockdown. And let's hope this is the last of it. So we have been along here before, but we need to go through here to get to the next stage of our journey. So within these buildings, can you see there's some older yards and buildings. There isn't anything here, but in some of the others areas that I'll show you, there are restaurants and pubs. Okay, it's a very, very sunny day, so we came along here last time and we are going to go over there. So remember this building, it's the TSB as it used to be. Okay, so this is known as the Crown Street. So we have been down there, as you can see, Market Street down there. But what we've not been up is this street here, which is called Silver Street. So a lot of period buildings. These are very much 20th century on that side, and the ones on this side are actually older. We're going to try and get across. So if I look up there, I can only admire once again the excellent architecture. Okay, of course, you know, got modern use, very large drinking place. Okay, I'm going to I'll go across again to show you more of this side, because it really is a mixture of old and new. Okay, this is the Apollo's, which unfortunately had a fire and is now closed. Okay, so if we look further on, that's the road that was on before, called Cowgate, and from there as well. So as we look across, these buildings, as you can see, the date on that one is 1923. So these were built in the 20s and 30s. I'm actually going to go through this yard because at one time it was a very popular place, and Mr. Yates is a popular merchant, and number of bars are named after him. So in front of these you can see some older buildings. Okay, so unfortunately very run down, but if it was to be renovated, it reminds me very much of York and its shambles buildings. So I've come right through to what's called George's Square. I am going to go back because I want to go to the top of George's Square, but I wanted to show you this building. We'll see it at a different angle later, but this, as you can see, is built of this sort of gem of a building really, which dates back to I think it's the early 1800s. It is quite small, but then on this side there used to be another building, but I think that either got knocked down or was destroyed in the 30s, and then we get this building from the early part of the century. So as I say, over there is St. George's Square. So we're going to go back onto Silver Street. And in the background you can of course see Ebenezer's church, which does sterling work in these difficult times. And if you remember, up there is Lister Lane. Okay, so another alleyway, but again it's the back of the buildings of George Square. Okay, there's the sunshine into my face. So we're coming up to Bull Green, and compared to the previous videos, this is very, very quiet. So I have mentioned this one before. Origin was well, it still is a very popular place. So we're into now George's Square. I'm going to go down George's Square and into a few of the nooks and crannies, as I call it. Okay, so a wonderful view of the buildings on that side. So I think I have mentioned where Stead's, the hairdressers, is used to be Jack Lee's, which the very famous sportswear retailer. Okay, so something to direct you. So as you can see, they're very, very different ages of buildings. So we are now at the front. So another view of this. This is actually the back of Somerset House. So this no doubt splendid retail shops or parts of the bank back in the 1830s. Okay, and further down is the Lloyds Bank building. I'm going to go on the other side to show you more of the buildings on this side that are in front of Yates's Yard and Yates's Bar. Okay, so as you can see, very contrasting buildings. So the area on the right hand side, wonderful Victorian architecture, and we've got something more of a functional building in the 20th century. Okay, so Grill and Griddle has been here for as long as I've been in this town. A very nice coffee place, also known as the Beefeater. Okay, so this is the Lloyds Bank building and goes through to Rawson Street. Okay, so a lot of these buildings still are or used to be banks and building societies. So the shop that's open there, I think it's called Good Mood. Us oldies would remember that as Grey Nichols, again another sports good shop. So I'm back on Commercial Street. So this is where George Street starts. The whole of this is George Square. Okay, sorry for the quick span. And back onto Commercial Street. Used to be the post office. And I am actually going to go down this street and then back to this point and then carry on the journey from here. Okay, so we've actually come from that direction and done a little semicircular movement, as it were. So as you can see, there are much smaller alleyways, and this area is actually called Cheapside. So this used to be the Bank of Scotland, and now a different use as a uniform place. So further on, this is a side of Wilkinson's, but in our time it used to be Marks and Spencer. So this is the sort of thing that I'm in. So if you look at this, it's got a small yard. So this is called the Upper George Yard. So there is a vehicle in the way, otherwise I would have opened it right through. And if I can get right through, as you can see, there are various buildings with the George, a very, very popular place, right back from the really part of the 19th century. So this is the old and original Halifax. I was down there earlier on, and of course Yates is over here, and has a very, very characters buildings. So unfortunately a lot of the bars are closed due to the first day. So I'll go back on to George's Square. So as you can see, there was a vehicle parked there, but that really is a splendid period building. Okay, back to Cheapside. I'm going to go down here, and on this side There are some really nice 18th century buildings, so they really are full of character. Okay, so we're heading back towards Market Street. This is actually part of Russell Street. Unfortunately, you know, the brands have not survived, and the buildings are now up for sale. So, as I described this earlier, the family businesses, Horsfall Jewellers, has been around for a long time, certainly since the start of the last century. Okay, so as you can see, back to Southgate and the corn market over here. So I'm just going to go a little bit further. So as you can see, very few people around, but the borough market is open obviously for essentials such as meat and fruit. So the reason why I've come this way is I wanted to show you the Old Cocke Yard, which, if you remember, I pointed out when I was in front of Lloyds Bank over there. So we're just going to go up this yard and then end our journey for today and hopefully carry it on. Okay, so going up the Old Cocke Yard, as you can see, this is a very famous drinking place, no longer in use. Let's hope that somebody does take it up, and so I'll just try to show you as much of the building as I possibly can. So again, unfortunately there's a vehicle parked in front of it, but I think this ages from about the 18th century. And so as you can see, very different period buildings. So from the borough market for the 1890s to much older, as you can see from the roof tiles. Okay, so what we have here is the old BT building, which of course got used by the post office. Okay, so the remainder of the Old Cocke building, which of course in the olden days used to be an inn or a hotel. So let's see if there's any other inscriptions on there. So, goodness me, I got the ages wrong there. It was built in 1580 by William Saville. The old oak rooms still has some of its original stained glass windows after being restored in 1879. So the Saville Arms is depicted in the plasterwork, and the original fireplace is dated 1581. So it's a 16th century building. Okay, so I'm going to go back up towards Commercial Street and end our journey there. So as you can see, the building on the left hand side used to be the post office. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed today's journey. It's turned out a little bit longer because I've obviously walked a lot slower. So I'm back on Commercial Street looking at Lloyds Bank. Okay, and next time we will go up where Harvey's is, and as I've described a few times, Somerset House. So We will end our journey there, and until the next time, please take care, look after yourselves, look after others. So let's practice my Urdu again. अपना ख्याल रखिए, दूसरों का भी ख्याल रखिए. So Allah Hafiz, goodbye until the next time.